So, welcome to another lecture on signals and systems. So, in this lecture, we will look into another topic called signal transformation. So, before that, let us recall the concept of even and odd signals. So, any signal, or let's say any real signal, can be represented as a sum of even and odd signal. Just as any complex signal can be represented as a sum of the real and the imaginary part. Similarly, any real signal can be represented as a sum of the even and the odd signal, where the even part is represented as the average of the signal and its time reverse counterpart. You will see what is the time reversal of x of t, and its odd part is given as the average of x of t and the negative of the time reverse of x of t. Hence, this signal can be represented as the sum of the even and the odd part. So, let us see an example. Let us find the even and odd part of the signal. There is a signal given as xt is equal to 4 plus e to the power minus 3 times of t and cos of 2 times of t. So its even part is given as is calculated as 4 plus cos 3t plus cos 2 times of t. Now here we can see cos 2t is also an even signal, cos 3 times of t is also an even signal, and any constant is also an even signal. So sum of two or more even signal is also an even signal. That is why its even part is an even signal. Similarly, if we look at the odd part of the signal, which is obtained as minus j times of sine 3t, which is an odd signal. Similarly, let's take another example where x of t is given as 3 plus 2t plus 5 times of t square. So its even part can be calculated as 3 plus 5 times of t square. T square is parabolic. Parabolic function is also an even function. We can see it is symmetric about the vertical axis. Similarly, 3 plus 5t square is an even function, and x naught t, that is the odd part of xt, is obtained as 2 times of t, which is an odd function. And we can say that any signal can be represented as a sum of the even and odd signal. Let us quickly see the note point. So if the signal x of t is even, then its odd part will be 0, and if the signal is odd, then its even part will be 0. And let's see the algebra of even and odd signals. The multiple of two odd signals will give an even signal. Then the multiplication of two even signal gives an even signal, and likewise the multiplication of even and odd signal gives an odd signal. The sum of even and odd signal also gives an odd signal, and the sum of two or more even signal gives an even signal. So, the same way as we saw that the real signal can be represented as a sum of even and odd signals, similarly, any complex signal can be represented as a sum of conjugate symmetric signal and conjugate antisymmetric signal. Now, what are these types of signals? A signal is conjugate symmetric if the signal equals to the time reverse of its conjugate, and it is antisymmetric if the signal equals to the negative times of the time reverse of its conjugate. And any signal can be represented as the sum of the conjugate symmetric signal and conjugate antisymmetric signal, which can be obtained as the conjugate symmetric part is given as the average of the signal as well as the time reverse of its conjugate. Similarly, the conjugate antisymmetric part is given as the average of the signal and the negative of the time reverse conjugate of the signal. Let us see some more properties. If a complex signal is conjugate symmetric, now let's say a signal x of t is represented as a plus j times of u of t, where signal a is the real part of the signal xt and p is the imaginary part of the signal x of t. So, what it says that if the signal is conjugate symmetric, then its real part will be an even signal and its odd and its imaginary part will be an odd signal, right? So, if a complex signal is represented in this way as a sum of even and odd signal in which the imaginary part is an odd signal, then the signal is a conjugate symmetric signal. While the other way is that if the signal is represented as the odd and even signal in which the real part is an odd signal and the imaginary part is an even signal, then signal is termed as the anti-conjugate symmetric. So, keeping this in mind, let us see an example. Find the conjugate symmetric and conjugate antisymmetric part of the signal. Now, since this is, as we can see, this is a complex signal, it contains both real and imaginary part. So, this signal can be represented as a sum of the conjugate symmetric and the conjugate antisymmetric signal. That can be calculated using this formula, and thus we obtain the conjugate symmetric part, which is given as a cos signal and a sine signal. We can see that any conjugate symmetric signal is a sum of even plus j times of the odd signal. That is, the real part is an even signal and the odd part, and the imaginary part is an odd signal. We can see here, so this is the conjugate symmetric signal. Its real part is an even signal and its odd part, its imaginary part is an odd signal. Similarly, the case of a conjugate antisymmetric signal that we obtain, you can see the real part is an odd signal while the imaginary part is an even signal. As we can see, if a complex signal is anti-conjugate symmetric if its real part is an odd signal and the imaginary part is an even signal. Let us continue with the signal transformation. So suppose this is the original signal x of t, and let us suppose we do some transformations. Now these transformations are basically classified either with respect to time, that is either with respect to the time axis, that is we will do transformation along the time axis, or with respect to the amplitude, that is we will do transformation along the vertical axis. So broadly there are two types of classification of signal transformation, that is the transformation in time and the transformation in the amplitude. Also, there are other types of transformations, that is time reversal, time deflection, modulus, etc. We will discuss each of these. So let us start with the time shifting and time scaling. So consider any signal x of t and any arbitrary signal x of t. So let us perform a time shifting operation on this. Let's say the signal x of t is shifted in time by a positive number k. As you can see, if this is the original signal, so if we shift in time, if the time shifting is represented by t minus k, then this is called the forward time shifting, and the signal is shifted forward by k unit. As you can see, the initial coordinates of the signal were at minus k and b, but after the shifting by k unit, then the new coordinates are at minus a plus k and b plus k. Now as you can see, this is the time shifting, then the shifting is observed only along the time axis and not on the vertical axis, right? So this is the forward time shifting because the signal is getting shifted forward. Let's see the backward time shifting, or you can say the leftward time shifting. Suppose the original signal is shifted backward by k units. In this case, if the t is shifted by t plus k, then the signal shifts backward by k unit. Here you can see the signal transformation is with respect to time in the leftward direction. So this is called the backward time shifting. So if k is any positive number and the shifting is done as t plus k, then the shifting will be leftward. Similarly, if the shifting is done as t minus k, then the signal will shift rightward. So we can see if this is the original signal, so if we did the backward shifting as x t plus k, then the signal shifted backward by k units, right? And similarly, if we did the forward shifting, the signal shifted by some k units rightward. Now you can see there is only horizontal shifting, there is no vertical shifting, there is no shifting vertically. Also, the shape of the signal remains intact, there is no distortion in the shape of the signal. Let us see another time transformation, that is the time scaling. Let us scale the time axis with a factor a, such that a is any, let's say a is any positive number. Then what we see, if a is some value which is greater than 1, then signal compresses. There is a horizontal compression towards the origin, it is compressing towards the origin. When does it compresses? When this positive number a, then the scaling that we have done, its value is greater than 1. Similarly, if the scaling factor is less than 1, then signal tries to expand horizontally. We can also verify analytically. Suppose we have scaled the time axis by a, then suppose originally the position of the signal was at t is equal to b, then after the signal transformation, the same point will be located at t is equal to b by a. Now as you can see, a is less than 1, then numerically b by a must be greater than b. Hence the signal expands horizontally in the outward direction, both sides. So what we see in case of time scaling, that signal either compresses or expands horizontally depending on the value of the scaling factor. A is called the scaling factor. So we can see if the scaling factor has a value that is greater than 1, then the signal compresses, and if the scaling factor is a value which is less than 1, then the signal does horizontal expansion. Again we can see there is no vertical changes occurring, all the compression and expansion is done horizontally along the time axis, because this is a transformation with respect to time. Let's see another transformation which is called the time reversal. So suppose t is transformed to minus of t, then in this case the signal rotates along the vertical axis by 180 degree. So if we take the vertical axis as the axis of rotation and rotate this signal as 180 degree, then we obtain a mirror image of the signal. As you can see, we obtain the mirror image of the signal. This is called a time reversal transformation. So let us take an example. Suppose this is an arbitrary signal x of t. Let us do the transformation x 5t plus 1. Here we can see in this question there is a combination of scaling as well as shifting. Now the question is how we can proceed this transformation. So there are two cases. Shall we start from shifting and then perform scaling, or shall we start from scaling and then perform shifting? Then the answer is we can do it both ways. We will get the same answer always. Let us do it with method 1. We will start with the shifting and then eventually we will do scaling. So first let us perform the shifting operation. So this is xt plus 1. Since this is t plus k format, then the signal will shift leftward by 1 unit. So this will -4 minus 1 plus 3 minus 1. Signal should shift leftward. So it is -5 and 2. Also the shape of the signal remains intact while performing the shifting operation. Now that we have done shifting, the next thing we have to do is perform scaling. Now we have done the shifting. Finally we have to do the scaling and get the final answer. Now you can see here the value of a, that is the scaling factor, is greater than 1. Since the scaling factor is greater than 1, then the signal should compress towards the origin, as we had studied earlier. So the signal is compressed. So this is the final answer. So let us do the same question by method 2. In this case, we will first perform the scaling operation and then the shifting operation. So let's see, in this case, the scaling factor a is equal to 5 is greater than 1, hence the signal will compress by a factor of 5 units. That is, it will compress. This coordinate -4 will be changed to, will compress to the new point, that is -4 by 5, and similarly 3 by 5. Now that scaling is done, let us perform the shifting operation. Now we have to perform the shifting from 5t to 5t plus 1. For that we have to take 5 as common. Then the shifting will be done by 1 by 5 units. Now since this is t plus k form, then the signal will shift backward, sorry, this here it should be shifting. We are doing the shifting operation. Then the signal will shift by 1 by 5 units. So this is the final answer. That the new endpoints are at -1 and 0.4. We got the same result in case of method 1, that is -1 and 0.4. Let us take another example. So for any signal xt, this is some signal xt. Let us sketch the following signals. So let us sketch x2 minus t. Now we can see here it is, there is the shifting of the signal as well as minus t, that is the time reversal. So here the scaling factor is -1, that is why signal is getting reversed in time. So we will just obtain the mirror image of the signal. Now that time reversal is done, we are left with the time shifting. Now see, this is x minus of t, then we can write as x minus, we will take outside, t minus of 2. So this is the t minus k form, hence the signal will shift rightward by 2 units. So this is the final answer. So -2 is shifted to by 2 units. So this is the final answer. Next, we have to sketch x times of 4 minus t by 2. Here you can see there is a shifting operation, there is a time reversal operation, as well as 1 by 2 is the scaling factor. T by 2, that is 1 by 2 is the scaling factor. So how we will proceed? One thing is for sure that we can proceed in either way. Either you start from scaling, then shifting, and then go to time reversal, or either way you will always get the same answer. So in this case, let us start from the time reversal to get the mirror image of x of t. Then we do the scaling, 1 by 2 scaling. Now here the scaling factor is 1 by 2, 0.5, which is less than 1. So when the scaling factor is less than 1, then signal should expand horizontally. Now finally scaling is done, then let's do the shifting. Now the same way we will take the common outside to finally see the t minus k format as we had discussed earlier. Now you can see, since this is the t minus k format, then the signal should shift forward by 8 units. So this is the final answer. Now last question, let us try to sketch x 2t plus 1. Here we can see there is a shifting as well as scaling operation. First what we did, We did the shifting operation, which is xt plus 1, and then we move to the scaling operation to obtain the final answer. We will continue our discussion. Thank you.